I tried to make a horror game in just 1 hour. Making horror games takes a lot of time. But what can we make in just 1 hour? So today we will be attempting to make a horror game in just 1 hour. But that's not it. We will also be making a horror game in 5 minutes and then in 15 minutes to see just how good or bad it can get. Let's start by making a horror game in 5 minutes. Now 5 minutes is not a lot of time to make a horror game. We need something small, something easy to make. With that in mind, I created a circle and named it player. And then I created a square, which will be used as wall to make a corridor. I then duplicated the player and changed its color to black. We will have this black circle follow the player. The plan is to make a corridor with light coming from one end. The goal of the game is to reach the end of the corridor before getting caught by this black circle. Alright, let's change the environment a bit. Since this will be a horror game, we need to dim the lights. Also, I don't like the blue background, so I changed it to a darker grey color. For the end of the corridor, I made a freeform light and changed its settings to make it glow. I also added a spotlight to the player, which made its surrounding brighter and a bit easier to see. We also want the player to move, which is why I made a new script and started writing simple movement code for the player. And time is up. Let's play the game, I guess. Well, this is a disaster. But maybe we can do better with 15 minutes. Well, the 5-minute horror game did not go as planned. But let's move on to the 15-minute version and see if we can make a horror game in 15 minutes. 15 minutes is still not a lot of time to make a game. Let's start by making a circle and then add a rigid body 2D component to it. And we are off to a good start. Alright, let's turn this circle into a prefab and make a new script to check if the circle is clicked on. And if it is clicked on, set it as inactive. Let's test it out, and it's not working. Why is it not working? I don't have all the time in the world. Everything looks good to me, so it should be working. Oh, the circle doesn't have a collider. Alright, now it's working. We also need a few spawn points for the circle to spawn at. 3 spawn points should do the trick. I then wrote a script to randomly spawn a circle and add a force to the circle to make them jump up. Let's test it out, and yes, it's working. For the jump scare, I found this lovely horror image from the internet. This image will pop up if the player misses a circle. Let's slap it onto a new canvas and write a script to show this image if the player misses to click on the circle. Let's also look for a terrifying scream sound effect, which will be played along with the image. This one sounds good, so let's add it onto our script. How much time do we have left? That is not a lot of time, but we need some art for our game. I went into Photoshop and tried making a skull. It doesn't look like a skull, but it is a skull. Do we still have time? 1 more minute, it's enough to add a gradient background. Turns out that was not enough time to add a gradient background. But since it doesn't affect the gameplay, I added it anyways. And there you have it, a horror game that is made in 15 minutes. At least this one is playable unlike the 5-minute version. The jump scare might not be the scariest thing in the world, but what else would you expect from a game made in 15 minutes? Finally, the horror game made in 1 hour. This time, I will be using everything at my disposal. AI, assets, scripts from my old projects, everything. For the 1 hour challenge, we'll be making a 3D horror game. Alright, with the timer on the clock, let's begin. I went straight to Unity's asset store to look for a log house, and I found this beautiful 1-bedroom log house which we can use. Also, one thing that I didn't know about this asset is that it came with a playable character, which means that I no longer need to make a player controller myself. This is going to help me save a lot of time. After importing the log house to Unity, I set up the house and the player. And let's test it out. It has a bedroom, a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. Also, there are interactable drawers everywhere in the house. We can use these drawers to hide keys that player would have to collect in order to escape the house. Finding this asset pack was a stroke of good luck. After setting up the house, I made a huge plane for no reason. I have this skybox asset pack which I use all the time in my project. I really like this night skybox and ended up using it. I then started selecting all the lights and changed its intensity to 1.5 or maybe 0.5. Yeah, that's much better. I also reduced the temperature filter to around 3000 to give it a warmer look. With that, our dimly lit log house was ready for our horror game. Now, let's give our player a torch so that he can navigate the house. To mimic a torch, we can add a spotlight to our player and change its color. Let's move things around the house so that we have room to walk around. I deleted this sofa and this mirror in the bedroom and moved the dining tables and chairs a bit farther away from the drawers. Alright, I think we should add the zombie now. I found this zombie on Unity's asset store. I don't like it, but we don't have any other option. To move the zombie around, we will use nav mesh. Let's create an empty game object and add a nav mesh surface component. And finally, make a new nav mesh surface. Also, let's add an armist agent component to a zombie. I then made these empty game objects and distributed them around the house. They will act as patrolling points for a zombie to move around. Finally, we are making the first script for this project. I already have an old project which has the patrolling code we need, and it's working just fine. For a walk animation, I went on to Mixamo and downloaded this animation and added it to a zombie. Then I went back to Unity's Assets store to look for a key, and I found this rusty key which is perfect for our game. I then started placing spawn points in those openable drawers and wardrobe around the house, and wrote a new script to spawn 3 keys at random positions. I then asked my best friend ChatGPT to write a script for picking up the keys. After editing the script myself to fit the game, it was working properly. For making the torch dimmer, I wrote a script to lower the intensity of the spotlight with time. It was also difficult to pick up the keys as there was no cursor on the screen, which is why I made a cursor in Photoshop and added it to our game. I also modified one of the scripts which allowed opening of the door so that the door only opens after the player has collected 3 keys. What else do we need? Yeah right, we need a way to end the game if the player has reached outside the house. To do that, I created a box collider and set it to be a trigger collider. This will activate a panel when the player enters this collider. I then created a panel which stated game over and has 2 buttons to either replay the game or quit the game. And let's check the clock, we still have 3 minutes left. I don't think there is anything that I can add in 3 minutes. So let's just build the project. And there you have it, a horror game made in 1 hour. It definitely needs some polishing, and while playing the game, I found out that the door opening script I edited did not work properly. Well, that's the cost you pay for not testing your games, I guess. And there you have it, a horror game made in 5 minutes, a horror game made in 15 minutes, and a horror game made in 1 hour. Alright, that's it for today. If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And here's something that you might also like.